Hey, what's up? My name is John Bonjour. I am a comic book artist and film enthusiast, which makes me uniquely suited to do a full MCU rewatch in preparation for Avengers Doomsday. Last time we watched Captain America: The First Avenger. This time we're watching Captain Marvel. We're doing these in chronological order of the universe. Captain America was in World War II. There's a bunch of time, and now we're in the 90s for Captain Marvel. There's a lot to be said about this movie, and I will be talking about it as its own project. I will also be going into it as it pertains to the universe and how I think it slots in there. And that's kind of how these are going to go, so buckle up, let's talk about Captain Marvel. My original experience with Captain Marvel, obviously it came out between Infinity War and Endgame. Bad call. It was just a horrendous decision to put it there. I think it put way too much pressure on this movie that is perfectly fine. Fine to good, I would even say. This was also not helped by Kevin Feige and co. telling us that this was going to be the next major character before the movie came out, which is not a good idea. There was so much discourse around this movie. This was the height of the woke garbage that people were putting out. Now, hear me when I say, this is not the height of woke garbage. This is the height of when people were putting out things that were about things being woke that are garbage. Those videos are trash. You hear what I'm saying? Calling things woke is not an actual criticism of a movie. I will die on that hill. This was in the very peak of when everyone hated, I guess, women being superheroes and just wanted to tear down whatever could possibly happen to make that a thing, which is dumb, and also added more weight to this movie to kind of prove them wrong. And it doesn't necessarily, like, the thing about Captain Marvel is that it's not phenomenal. It's not a phenomenal movie. It's also not a terrible movie. It's good. Like, it's a good movie that doesn't really try to be more than a good movie and doesn't really need to be less than a good movie. There's a lot of the framing that I think partially works and partially doesn't, but at the end of the day, Captain Marvel is good, and it's kind of weird to reconcile with it's allowed to just be good. This was directed by Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, and it stars Brie Larson, which I think, if we're going to get the bad out of the way, this does not feel like Larson figured out what the character was supposed to be. And maybe that's her fault, maybe that's direction, maybe that's writing. There's 100 possibilities for what that could be. I think The Marvels, we'll get to this in a long time, I think The Marvels is a movie that fully understands what Captain Marvel should be and what she is as a character and what purpose she serves. And this just is not. The original Captain Marvel is not that. She's half sulky, sad, lonely, half quippy, neither of which necessarily really come through very well in the performance. I think, unfortunately, the thing that doesn't work very most about this movie is Brie Larson's performance. And that's a shame because she is really good in other things, including other Captain Marvel performances. I wish that this was a movie that I could defend to my dying day as being incredible, but I just kind of can't, mostly on Brie Larson not being bad. I can't stress that enough. She's not terrible in this, but there are deliveries that feel forced and false, and there's things about the performance that just doesn't really work super well. As an origin story, I think this was in the moment where Marvel started to try not to do origin stories as much, and I think it shows, and not always in a good way. There's pieces of this that are origin story and pieces of this that are current story, and a lot of it all just kind of comes together. The framing of the story itself just feels jumbled. Like, I watched this a week or two ago, and I couldn't tell you in what order the story goes. And I don't think that's inherently bad, because I felt that way about Pulp Fiction, also the first time I watched it. But I think it's not good. I think in this case, it's not a particularly intentional choice. It's not supposed to be a puzzle to solve. When you know what this is going to be, it doesn't necessarily work as a puzzle, and you just kind of wish it was more of her being this godlike, attempting to be human creature who's like lost her memories maybe, but trying to figure out what it means to be not only Captain Marvel, but also this ambassador for the Kree, this ambassador for the Skrulls, and also Carol Danvers, a person who has her own thoughts and motivations and feelings. And this movie flirts with all of those ideas, but it's a shame that it doesn't really get to do a lot with them in ways that are tangible and worth really assessing. The action in the film is good. The direction of the film is good. It's almost everything about this movie is good. I think narratively and performance-wise it has some flaws. I will say effects-wise, this movie looks gorgeous. And I think it's not necessarily cinematography-wise, but effects-wise, they look really good. When she has the kind of glowing fire around her, I think that's a really cool effect. The CGI of Nick Fury, CGI de-aging, is very good. Like it in terms of what that's gonna be, it works really well. I'm not a huge fan of the CGI de-aging as a process or a concept, but I think this is a good use of it if you're gonna do it, because really you couldn't necessarily recast Nick Fury. He's Samuel L. Jackson is kind of the guy to do that, and Coulson you could recast, but if you're gonna do Sam Jackson, you might as well do Coulson as well. In rewatching this movie, I think it's better than I remembered, especially the first time, without the weight of it being in between an Avengers movie and an Avengers movie. It just plays a lot better. It introduces the character decently. It's a lot more fun than I remembered it being, and the scroll stuff is very interesting. Unfortunately, we kind of know what they do with a lot of that later, and it's not, well, we'll see. We'll see how we feel about it when we get to Secret Invasion. In terms of the universe, Captain Marvel is, when you're watching it in chronological order, our first introduction to the space, the cosmic side of Marvel. And I think this works very well in that. I think when it came out, it was kind of a response to the Guardians of the Galaxy without James Gunn and without seemingly the kind of overseeing of James Gunn, which made it feel a little bit more like a pastiche of Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of placed over whatever they were making. Now that we don't have that context in assessing this as kind of its own thing in the chronological order of the films, I think it has done a great service to Captain Marvel. I think it makes it a lot more interesting, and the bright, colorful world feels a lot more unique. And I think, we'll see obviously when we get to it, but I think that won't really detract from Guardians of the Galaxy at all, because Guardians of the Galaxy will then play as kind of a stepping up of that universe, of that cosmic side, instead of Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians 2, and then kind of stepping down for Captain Marvel. The introduction of the Skrulls is fun. It's fun to see that. Fun to see the continuation of S.H.I.E.L.D. It is interesting, like we're going to get to this in Iron Man, but it's interesting to see that S.H.I.E.L.D. is just kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like there's the whole joke in Iron Man where he's like going through strategic homeland intervention, espionage, logistics division, and there's that line about like, you need to find a better name, and he's like, yeah, we're working on it. I mean, I guess that's kind of a plot hole in terms of the universe, but like I don't really care. You can say that he just wanted to be clear about it, and they were like, find a better name, and he's like, well, yeah, it's you know, we're finding it. What else is fun about this movie? I like the Flurkins. I like the introduction of Fury and Coulson. He's gonna show up, I guess, in Iron Man next, right? Probably. So it'll mean even more at that point, because we'll know kind of who he is, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. This is where we kind of sow the seeds of his mistrust of aliens and the world, and I think that's very fun. It is interesting that in Avengers, after this whole conflict where he realizes that the Skrulls are actually maybe good guys, it's interesting that aliens are involved in the Avengers, and he's like, they're bad for sure. Aliens are bad, and they come from above. This is a fun movie. I really had a good time with Captain Marvel. I would love to hear what your thoughts are just on the movie as a whole and how it fits into the universe. Up next, we are going to be watching Iron Man, the original Iron Man, and I am very excited to get to that. So what did you think of Captain Marvel? Let me know in the comments below. And what are you most looking forward to getting to in this MCU rewatch? Thank you so much for watching this video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more thoughts on movies, comics, TV shows, anything of the sort, hit the like button and the subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like me to review next. My voice is getting so tired. This is the third video I've recorded, so I'm gonna go drink some tea. Oh, or do none of that because I'm not your dad.